Hey guys, how's it going? I'm back here with another video, and today I decided to make a tutorial on how to make kind of like a carousel of images in ReactJS purely without using any libraries or anything. The only small library that we're going to use is MaterialUI Icons to get this two icons right here, but the rest is fully just React and CSS. So basically, you can see right here, you can style this however you want. This is what I did. Each carousel image has like a background image. Then there's like, if you want to add, you can add like a subtitle and a title. I gave this effects, and if you click on this button right here, it goes to the second one, which is like just the next image. You can click on another one as well. You can click on all of them. This is the last one that I have, so you can see it doesn't go further and it doesn't break if I try to go further. And we can go back as well. This is purely just made with React and CSS, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to make this. Okay guys, so here we are. Here we have a simple React application, and the only things I did with this React application is I just deleted all the unnecessary files, which included like the test files, everything that isn't here when you just create a React app, and I also added a folder for the images. So you can see right here, I have a folder called images, and I have the 3 images that I showed in the beginning of the video, right? I got them from Google randomly, and I just downloaded them and put them here. But you can do it however you want. I just have a folder with the images. And now, as you can see, we just have the app.js, which is where our whole application starts. And also, before anything, you can see my my app is blue. I did this by simply coming here to the app.css that already comes, and I deleted everything that comes with it, and I only put this right here. I made it so that we have a 100 by 100 width and height in our screen. I gave it a display flex, and I just centered everything and changed the background color to light blue. And then I also removed the margin and the padding for the body. If you've ever worked with CSS and React before, you know that you have to do this, or else this is what's going to happen. As you can see right here, initially this is what happens. If you don't do this, it will stay like that. So basically this is where we start, right? So what do we want to do now? Well, we want to create a folder for our components, right? So I'm going to come over here and create a folder called components. And inside of here, I'm going to create my first component, which is just the carousel. I don't even know if this is how you spell it, but I'm just going to call it like this, carousel. And inside of here, I'm using the ES7, I think. Let me check over here. I'm using this extension right here, this snippet, this one right here. It is a very famous snippet. I would recommend downloading it. Basically, what it does is, I accidentally clicked on it. Basically, what it does is, I can just come here and say and press RFCE and press enter, and it automatically creates my functional component that I can use into whatever I want to. So now that we have this, what do we actually want to do? Well, we want to start creating our carousel component. And first of all, we want to give a class name to this div. So let me just call it something simple like carousel. Carousel. By the way, I'm going to increase the size. I don't know if that's going to look good, just so you guys can see it better. So we just increased the size to something better to look at. And what we have to do now is we're going to import this component in our app.js. So up here at the top, I'm just going to import carousel from /components/carousel. So I'm just importing the component, and I want to render it in my app. So I'm going to say carousel, and that's basically it. I'm going to increase this a bit so you guys can see just a little bit better right now. But we're just importing our carousel component. It is somewhere in our screen, however, we haven't done anything in it, as you can see. But if we write like something over here, you can see that it's going to appear on our screen, and it is centered because we centered everything in our app.css. However, we're not going to use the app.css for styling our carousel. We're actually going to create a separate file called carousel.css. You don't need to do this. You can use inline styling. You can use like use style hook. You can do whatever you want, but I like to create a separate CSS file, which I like to put all my stylings in there. So now that we have this, we have to basically start creating like our template for our carousel, right? So let's come here to our CSS, and let's start by styling our carousel div. So what I want to do is I want to first call the .carousel class, and I'm just going to close this .carousel, and I want to give it a width of like maybe 60%. It all depends on what you want. I want to make it 60%, but again, it depends. The height, you can define it statically like this using pixels, but you can also choose whatever you want. I'm going to choose 700 pixels because that's what I think looks good. And now we can visualize to see what this looks like. If we give it a background color of like black for now, just to take a look, you can see if I refresh the page, currently nothing is appearing. Oh, I didn't import the carousel.css here. Yeah, so we need to have access to this CSS in our carousel component. So what we have to do is just say import./carousel.css because they are in the same folder. And as you can see now, this beautiful square appears, and if we like push it up, it continues appearing, as you can see. So what do we want to do now? Well, we want to divide our, like inside of our carousel, we want to be able to have a inner div that contains all of our images as background and all of our information. So let's create that div right here, and that div will basically have a class name of let's call it carousel inner. It's just going to be the inner div inside of it, and actually our images will all be background images for this div right here. And now that we have this, all we got to do is we're going to come over here to our CSS, and we can just style our carousel inner by coming over here and saying dot carousel inner, and make it have a height of fully 100% and also a width of 100%. And by the way, I'm doing it this way, having an inner div, so that it becomes a lot more flexible for you guys. I obviously could have used like the wrapper carousel class. However, I prefer to do it this way so it becomes more flexible if you guys want to make some changes. So let's give it a height of 100, and I want to basically now have access to and try to put the images to be backgrounds to this div right here. So how do I actually do that? Well, we have here our images, right? And we have to account, how do we determine, like I have 3 images, how do I determine which one appears first, or how do I change them? How do I make that happen? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have our images all be part of an array, and that array will contain objects containing like information, for example, the image path, also the title, and also the subtitle. So each image will have a different title and subtitle, as we saw in the beginning of the video. So to do that, what I like to do is, you can first of all create that in your carousel. However, what I like to do is just create a separate folder in every single application I have called helper or helpers. And inside of here, I can put all the helper files that I want to have. An example would be the carousel data file. So I'm going to say carousel data.js. And what I mean by carousel data, inside of here, we're basically going to define our different images that we want to have. And remember I said it's going to be an array. So what we can do is we can say export const images. So this is going to be an array containing all of the different images we want. Initially, I'll just have 3. You can put how many you want, but let's just have 3. And as I mentioned before, it's going to be an array of objects. Why is it an array of objects? Because not only we want to get information about the image, but also we want each image to have a title and a subtitle. So let's take account for that. So let's create an object called title, for example, and let's just for now call it just like I did in the beginning of the video, say San Diego. That's the title for the first image we had. Then in the object, let me just save this. In the object, we also want to have a subtitle, and I set something like I don't know, I'm just gonna put whatever. This is San Diego. I don't even know if that was San Diego. I just got a random image. And then finally, we want a title, subtitle, and finally, we just want the image. And what exactly will be the image, you might be wondering? Well, we have to import the images in this file right here. For example, if I want to grab the city, which is the San Diego image I got, I can say import city from, and I can put the path to all my images. So my images is in a folder called images / something like city.jpg, as you can see. And now this right here represents the image. So I can come over here and just say that image equals to city. And this should be perfect. It should now be working. And what we have to do now is add all the other 3, like all the other 2 images that we want to have, right? So let me just copy and paste I'm just gonna copy this. It's an array of 3 objects, as you can see. So what do we want to have? The second one, if I recall, it's Salvador, the city I was born in and the city I'm currently in. So I decided to give it a shout out. So Salvador, Brazil, something like this. Then subtitle, the best city in the world, totally not biased, the best city in the world. Oh, I just realized my computer's gonna die. So yeah, the best city in the world, and the image will be, let me just copy this. I'm gonna paste it twice because we're gonna have 2 more images. Let's call it Salvador. It's the second image, and it's gonna be Salvador.jpg, and the last one is an image from my university, UBC, so I just call it UBC, and the image is also UBC. So just do this for your images. Obviously your images won't be the same as mine, but I'm gonna leave the code in the description so you guys can take a look if you want. So what do we need to do here is we need to change this to Salvador, and finally for this one it's just UBC Vancouver, which is the city which my university resides in, and then I can say something like the University of British Columbia. And finally, city, the image won't be city, the image will be UBC. Okay, now we have our array of the different images we want to have in our application. And this is basically it for most of the logic behind the carousel, because now we have access to different images in an array. And what we can do now is we can import this carousel data into our carousel component over here. So we can come here to the top and say something like import from dot slash, let me just go to the helpers slash carousel data. So we got to put the path to the carousel data, as you can see, and I can just access the images array, as you can see right here. So now we have access to that array because I made it as an export, if you remember. So now that we have access to this array, we could do something like just render them each at a time. But what I want to do is actually I want to keep track of which index in the image we currently are in. So basically, if we come over here and say something like, I don't know, I want to get image, create an image, and this image, I want to give it an src, which is the path of images 0, so the first image in the array, dot image. So we can do this, we're grabbing the first image, and as you can see, we are showing the first image. And if I show the second one, so 1, it will show the second image. If I show the third one, which is 2, it will show the third one. So what we can do is, I want to keep track of which image we are in by keeping track of this index. So what I can do is I can just come here to my import React and actually import use state. And basically create a state that is going to represent which index or which image we are. So I'm going to come over here and say const cur image, something like this, which means current image, and set cur image is just a simple state. And it's going to represent the index, so the actual image we are in. And it starts at 0 because when you are trying to reach an element in the array, the first element is in the 0th index. So I want to grab this, and instead of saying images 2, I can say current image, as you can see. And now it's just showing the first one. If I changed this value to be 1, it's going to show the second image. So this is the basic idea behind this. We're going to be changing the value for this state, and that's how we're going to be changing the image that appears over here. However, we actually don't just render the image like I'm doing right here. What we actually do is we make it as a background image to the carousel inner component, as you can see right here. So to do that, we can give it some inline styling over here. And you do this by giving this the style property and opening and closing 2 curly braces to make it as an object. And then you can just give it in background image. So background image. And basically we can use this kind of quotes, the back quotes, and I can just give it an URL. And instead of passing like the text over here, we're going to use the JavaScript inserting variables operator. I always forget. But the syntax where you just put a $sign or a money sign and the curly braces, and instead of here we can put JavaScript directly to the string, which means we can just say we want to grab it from the URL, which is images cur image dot image. So I hope this makes sense. Basically what we're doing is we're setting the background image to be equal to the URL, so the images with the current image, so the current image that we want to render according to this state, and we're going to access the dot image property from that. And as you can see, it should be showing, as you can see, that's the background image. If I make this 1, now it will become 1, as you can see. And it's also like kind of repeating because it's not fully sized. So we got to fix that. To fix that, we got to come here to our carousel.css. And if you've ever worked with background images before, you'll probably already know what I'm going to do right now. But basically, what we can do is we can come here to carousel inner, and we can just say background position and just make it center. And then I can just come here and give it a background repeat, and just make it no repeat. We don't want it to repeat the background images. And then we just want to background size to be equal to cover, because we want it to cover the whole div. And finally, what I want to do with this is I actually want to make it into a display flex. I want to make it so that the carousel inner will be a flex, and I'll show you guys exactly why in a second. But as you can see, it fixed the thing. Now it fits perfectly and it's all beautiful. So what we can do now is we can start making this look a little bit better. What do I mean by that? Well, we want to not only show the image, but we also want to show, for example, here at the side, kind of like a banner where we can click to move images, and on this one as well. But not only that, we want also in the middle to have a title and a subtitle. So what I did is basically I divided this inner div, which contains the background image, into 3 parts. So basically I can come here, we're gonna call it let's just create a div, and I'm just gonna give it a class name and make it equal to left. So this is the left side, and let's just copy. We want to divide it into 3 divs. So we want the left, the right, and the center. Obviously they will have different sizes, and that's why we gave it a display flex. They're going to be right next to each other. However, the left and the right ones are going to be a lot smaller than the center one. And how small, you might be wondering? Well, let's start working with them. Let's come over here to the carousel.css, and let's say dot carousel inner and dot left. We're going to access the left. And we want to give it a flex of actually just 5% of the div. We'll make the left and the right be 5%. Then the height, we obviously want to make it 100%. So 100%. And then we want to make the background color. So the background color is actually something interesting. So we want to make it black. However, we also want to give it kind of like an opacity to it. We don't want to make it fully black. We want to be able to see some stuff on it, so make it a little bit transparent. So what I like to do is I just give it an RGB and make it black through RGB by giving it 0 to all the properties here. This is equal to black. As you can see, it's going to be black if I refresh this, but obviously now it takes all the screen because we haven't given a size for the other ones. But basically, instead of just making 0, 0, 0, I can also give an opacity value out of 1 over here. I want to make it about 60%, no, 40% transparent, as you can see, and this looks a little bit better in my opinion. Now what we want to do is I want to also do the same thing for the right. So the right is going to also be 5%, the same properties, but the center will be a bit different. The center will be 80% or 90%, whatever we want. So I'm going to make it 90% actually, because 5 plus 5 is 10, and 90 plus 10 is 100. So the center is 90% of the div, and the other ones are 5% each. So the center will be just the same thing. However, we won't have a background. Let's take a look to see how that looks. And did I save it? I did save it. I just realized I also added a background color accidentally here for the center as well. So if I remove that, you can see clearly that we have the 2 banners. You can increase their size if you want. To increase that, you can just change the flex value for them. So increase this, but we're not going to be doing this. So what do we want to do now? Well, now that we have this, we have a lot of stuff we can do. Basically, I want to use the MaterialUI icons to be able to have those arrow icons over here. And in order to do that, you have to install MaterialUI into your project. So to install, it's very simple. You open up your terminal, as you can see right here. I'm going to open up a second one because this one is running React. And this one right here, you just want to install by writing yarn add at MaterialUI. Let me take a look. It's over here. I think it's at MaterialUI core. I already installed it. it's this right here, at MaterialUI core and at MaterialUI icons. So you can just say yarn add at MaterialUI / core and then at MaterialUI / icons. And by the way, if you're using npm, same thing, just change yarn to npm and add to install. So it would be npm install at MaterialUI and at MaterialUI icons. So just install both of them, and after you're done with that, what you'll see is that now we have access to those icons. And those icons, I already have them in my, I already know which icons we're going to be using in their path, so I'm just going to show you guys which ones we want. Basically, the name of the icon we want, and in order to import those icons into our application, let me close this, we can just come here to the top, and we're going to import the arrow back iOS icon. That's the name of the icon. I hate this name because it's huge, but that's what it is. It looks nice in my opinion. And we have to import it from at MaterialUI / icons / arrow back iOS. That's the icon we want. And for the other one, it's the same thing. However, we change this to forward and this to forward as well over here. Okay, that's okay. So now we have both of them. What we can do is basically, apparently I wrote it wrong. Did I? Let me take a look. Forward from iOS. Oh, I accidentally wrote icon here for some reason. It's just iOS. Now it's working. So now in order to see those icons, we can just come here to our left and to the right, because we want to show the back one to the left and say arrow back iOS. And we're now being able to see it, but it's black and it's really small at the top here. We're going to fix that in a second. And let's put the other one in the right div and just change this to arrow forward iOS icon, and you can see the other one also appears. But in order to fix this thing, which basically we are, it's just looks ugly right now, what we can do is we can come here to our left in our carousel.css over here, and we can make it a display grid, because basically we want to center it, right? We want to center the icon right here at the center of this. So if we give it a display grid and place item center, it's going to do exactly that. As you can see right here, it's going to be right at the center. It's currently right here. And I'm just going to copy this and just paste it on the right one as well. So let's come over here, paste it over here. And finally, we just want to add some color, right? We want to change the color to it to be white, because it's currently not being able to see it. So let's just make it white. And let's do the same for the other one, but also let's make our cursor be pointer when we hover it, and I'll show you what that looks in a second. So let's just copy and paste. Both the right and the left look very similar. Maybe we can just unite them in the future, but you can see that now the arrows look white, and when we hover this, we have kind of like a pointer instead of our inner cursor, right? As you can see, it works on both of them. What else can we do now? Well, we can come here to our right, and we can actually, can we try to access the font sizes? I'm just thinking, can we actually do that? Actually, that looks nice for now. Let's not worry about that for now. But let's worry about the center, right? Because you can see for now, currently we can't, when we click on those, nothing works. And also we're showing the second image instead of the first one. So how do we actually do that? How do we write the logic so that when we click on those arrows, it changes the image? Well, you can see that if I go to the first image, make the use state initialize at 0, it starts with the first image. So what we got to do is we just got to say that whenever someone clicks on the left panel, it decreases the index by 1. It decreases this value by 1. Because now, if we are in the first one, in the second image, it becomes the first one. And if we click on the right panel, we want to just increase that value by 1. So let's do that. Let's come over here to our div left. Let's give it an on-click event. We basically want to say that whenever we click on this, what we want to do is we want to set cur image equal to cur image plus 1. What that means is basically whenever we click on the left panel, this one right here, it should actually we wrote this wrong. It shouldn't be plus 1. It should be minus 1. When we click on this one, we want to go back one image. We want to decrease our index by 1. And similarly, if we want to, on the right one, we can just increase by 1 instead of decreasing by 1. So we can say plus 1. And you can see now that if I actually click on this, it will change the image. As you can see, it is changing the image. And if I click another time, it will show the third one. However, if you recall, we have 3 images. And if I click on this again, there will be an error. Like I can go back. However, if I try to click and move past the last image in the list, it's gonna break. As you can see right here, it broke. Why? Because it's trying to increase the index by 1 when it's already on the last element in the list. So how do we check for that? How do we account for that? Well, we just gotta check on the left panel if we are not currently the, because if I'm the first image and I want to go back 1 image, it will break as well because we're trying to go back in the array. So we got to check that. Let's come over here for the last one and just check to see. We just want to decrease the current image by 1 if current image is currently greater than 0. If it is in the first image, which is 0, then I don't want to decrease anything. I want to keep on the same place. Now, if I write this, I can't go back if I'm on the first image. I can only go back if I'm on the second or third one. And to check for the right side, to check if it's not breaking any rules, I can come over here and basically just say I only want to move forward if the current image is less than the last index, which basically represents the images, the array.length. So if we're currently not in the last image, and the last image will always be equal to images.length minus 1, because that's how array works. Basically, we just want to go forward. And what do we mean by that? Well, if current image is equal to 2, which is it's supposed to be the last image because it starts, current image over here is 0, and this is the first image. Now it's 1, and now it's 2. This is the last image. The index will always be 1 minus the length of the array. So we want to check to see if we only want to move forward if it is currently not 2, if we have 3 images, because the length is 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So I can't move forward right now, which is great. This is exactly what we wanted. So let's also increase a bit the size of this icons, because actually it's irritating me a bit. Let's just give it a style over here. Just through the arrow, let me just increase the font size and make it equal to like 30 pixels. So I'm just giving it some inside styling, and I'm just going to copy this and paste it on the other icon as well. So on this one right here, you can see that now it looks a lot better. It just increased the size. But now most of the logic is working. We just have to add the small thing, which is the titles in the center and the subtitles. So how do we actually do that? Well, remember we divided this into center, as you can see. And inside of here, what we want to do is we literally just want to give it an h1 to be the title. And the h1 will be represented by the images. So the current image in the images array dot title. So that's going to be our title. And we also want to have the same thing for the paragraph over here. However, instead of being the title, it's going to be obviously the subtitle that we created. So images cur image dot subtitle, as you can see. Now currently they appear over here, which is extremely ugly, and we just want to center them perfectly in our screen. So to do that, what we want to do is we want to come here to our center in our CSS, this over here, and we, as I said before, we want to give it a display of grid, and then obviously place item center so that they are centered, center, and you'll see that now they'll be completely centered. However, working with images, with text on images is always a hard thing because of contrast, and also like it just doesn't look good. So what I like to do is just give it a background to this text so that it is more like we can see it better. But so that's what we're gonna do it. That's what we're gonna do. So let's also change the font family. I like using Arial, so I'm just gonna paste this over here. And let's make the color. The color is already black, so let's just leave it like this. But let's align everything from the text. So text align center, and also text align left center as well. I'm gonna actually test text align. Actually, yeah, text align justify. That's what I'm gonna do. Justify and then text align left center so that they are perfectly aligned, even if it is like a huge piece of text. And then what we want to do now is just create the border around the text, right? Because we want to make it look better. So I'm going to access the h1, the header, and the paragraph individually. So P over here. The h1, I'm going to do something very similar for both of them. Both of them, actually the title will have a font size of, let's make it 5 rem. I think that's what I gave. And you'll see we'll increase the size. and let's give the paragraph a size of 2 rem. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks better. Then what we want to do is basically I want to do something that will account for both of them. So I want to access both the header and the paragraph. So I want to do something for both of them. So what I want to do is actually I just want to give it a background color of similar to what we did above. We're going to use RGB because we want to give it kind of like a fade, a transparency, and we want to make it kind of white but also transparent by giving this a 255, then also 255, then also as well over here 255, and finally I want to give it an opacity of 0.8, and this will basically make it look like this. We're gonna increase this in a bit, but we just gave it to both of them, as you can see right here. And to make it look better, we can give it a padding, which in my opinion looks a lot better if I do it. So I'm gonna give it a padding of 20 pixels, and you'll see right now if I just push this and I save this, you'll see that now it looks a lot bigger. And I can give it a border radius, which is something I like to do always, border radius of like 9 pixels, and it will look a little bit better, as you can see right here. In my opinion, this looks good. Seriously, in my opinion, it looks good. We can increase the size for the stuff, we can do whatever we want, but I honestly think it looks good. You can I just tried to make it as flexible as possible for you guys. And if you guys want to make changes, then obviously if you have any questions, also ask me down below. I'm going to leave the code in the description, so any of you guys want to see it, if you guys are interested, the code will be there. If you have any questions, just ask me in the comments. I'll be answering every single question. And I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you liked the video, please leave a like and comment down below what you want to see next. Subscribe because I'm posting every single day. Let me know if you are liking the new UI/React/CSS videos. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I see you guys next time.